Hello everyone. In my last video, we understood more attributes of test annotation, which are exceptions and timeout. Today, we will understand other attributes which are invocation count and invocation timeout. So let's start with the invocation count. Suppose there is a condition where you have to run this test case 5 times. Okay, so how will you run? Should you write this same test case 5 times and change the method names? This is the first approach. The second approach is that you can use a loop inside this method and run this test case multiple times, right? Let me write that loop. Now we are defining that run this test case 5 times. So if I try to run this test case 5 times, so it prints this is method A 5 times and total test run is 1. Okay, so we see these two output. I'm just picking this and putting it in the console, so we can just go to this output again. Okay, cool. Now this is a very positive test case. Okay, it can be a chance that you have to run the test case, but that test case is failing in between. Okay, so suppose if I'm writing assert.fail and let me run this test case again. So we see the test case fail at the first time and it does not continue to the other 4 times. Okay, and we see the test case run is 1 and the failure is 1. Okay, so what we understood that there is a limitation with this condition. The limitation is that if you use the for loop, then the test case would not continue for the remaining iterations. Okay, so to just avoid this limitation, there is an attribute which we call as invocation count. So how the invocation count works? So you can use the invocation count like the other attributes in the test annotation, and you can pass the integer number here. So suppose if I pass 2 or suppose I pass 5. Okay, if I'm passing the invocation count, I don't have to write these for loop condition. I'm again writing the same condition that this is method A to see how it is different with the previous output. Okay, now let me run the test case and see. So when I run this test case, let me just print this as copy this here and see the difference between these two. So we can see earlier we have printed this is method A 5 times, it is printed this is method A 5 times, but the major difference is that earlier only one test case run and inside that one test case there are for loop which is running for 5 times. Now the same test case is running 5 times and we can see the total test run is 5, in which 5 test cases are passed, 0 is failed and escape is 0. Okay, and suppose if I'm using the second negative approach where I am writing assert.fail in this test case and see the difference. So we can see the test case was failed, but the test case tried to run 5 times. Okay, and then it was failed. So this is the benefit of invocation count. So I'm again iterating it. Invocation count is used as an attribute in the test annotation, which shows that it would run this test case multiple times the number of times it defined in the invocation count attribute. Yeah, and if the test case is failing in between, it does not matter, it would run the next iteration. Okay, so this is the invocation count. Okay, now let's learn about another attribute, that is invocation timeout. Invocation timeout works similar with the timeout which we learned in our last video. If you have not watched that video, please go and watch that video. Okay, so the invocation timeout is a condition where you have to check that this test case is running 5 times, but this test case should be run in like 100 millisecond. Okay, so I'm just writing so again, and I'm writing this is method A, and I'm writing here invocation timeout, and I'm writing to 100 milliseconds. The number is in millisecond here. Okay, so I write 100 milliseconds. Now if I try to run this test case and see the output, we can see this is method A prints 5 times. Okay, and the test case was completed in less than 100 millisecond. Now let me use thread.sleep condition and right here 30 milliseconds it would wait. So what does it mean? That for every iteration it would wait for 30 milliseconds and then it goes to this is method A. So what would happen? What I'm expecting is that thread.sleep 30, so this is method A would print, but after the 3 prints of this is method A, the test case should fail because the timeout was exceeded. Let me run it again. So we can see it prints this is method A 2 times and then it failed because it does not print run to 3 times because there is a a delta time as well to print this is method A. So if I am writing is to like 25, then might be it would print in a 3 times this is method A. So we can see it prints this is method A 3 times and then it prints an error thread timeout exception where it shows the method learn.testng.demo test annotation method A did not finish within the timeout of 100 milliseconds. Okay, and suppose if I use here 15 milliseconds, so the test case would run without any issue. We can see this is method A would print 5 times. If I use 20 seconds, there can be a chance that the test case would not run because it would take some milliseconds time to print this statement as well. Let me run this test case and see. So 4 times it prints this is method A, but at the 5th time it shows an error. Okay, and the reason behind is the delta time which we are taking an extra to print this is method A line. Okay, so this is all about invocation timeout. Invocation timeout is similar to timeout. Okay, the difference is that timeout we used where for a single method, but here invocation timeout we use generally with invocation count. If we use timeout here as well, it would ignore invocation timeout attribute. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you everyone.